Yeah, these guys they might be a little better than we think. Now I'm starting to rethink the whole thing. Maybe the mess ups were completely intentional. Maybe how he stuttered over galaxy star systems. You know? Maybe it was all intentional. You'll never know. 3-3-3-3 from the start of the conference to the end of their thing. He's passing it back to DC. He said thank you. He closed it out. This basically is the questions, but these people are pros. I'm going to do commentary for the questions. We're going to do a little live analysis, live response. Here we go.
Back to UDC.
Back to UDC. He did that in 2 seconds. The 2 seconds are more or less like a transition period. So here's DC.
So we're going to open it up to the floor here at JPL for any questions from the media. If you have a question, just raise your hand.
He almost laughed. But DC did pretty good there, to be honest. There might be a little pausing here, but I'm mostly going to let them fly and try to get commentary over their thing.
Emily over there, and please wait for the microphone. Please state your name and media affiliation.
All right. So she is, I believe, from the Planetary Society, and she was also at the the Mars rover conference. I don't think she asked a question. Maybe she did. But she was definitely there. Red hair. Younger. Obviously, because it was earlier. But I'm going to say her name right now. I don't know how this guy felt about the presentation. It was good. I goof on them as being like not like adept in their craft. But the fact that they landed, the conference ended on 3-3-3-3, like these guys could just be a little bit more dialed in than we think. So we'll go with the questions. We'll see if it's like them. We'll see if these questions are plants. What do you guys think? We're just gonna break it down here.
Hi, Emily Lakdawalla, the
Emily Lakdawalla. I'm gonna look her up. We're gonna do a little analysis on her.
Planetary Society. I think this is for Steve. It's a question about the hydrogen that you're looking for in Jupiter.
So I think this is about Steve. Basically, how can we analyze that? Are they trying to make it as though she's asked? I think that she's planted for asking the questions. Because if she was at the Mars one, she's got to know that one was phony. Because that one was like, people confused it. I confused it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it was like a NASA conference. But she's probably planted. And she's like, I think this is for Steve, but they already rehearsed it, and so they made you kind of think for a second that it was like, it was spontaneous. It might be Steve answering it. I don't know. It could just be me, but so how I feel. These people are plants. Oh man, can't you tell? Like the way they're looking? All right, let's start this.
How do you know that the water that you're going to be measuring there is primordial water, that is not kind of exchanged with the supply of molecular hydrogen in Jupiter?
See, like, hydrogen, molecular hydrogen, the way they just like rephrase their questions while they're talking, it's a clear sign that they were doing a lot of prepping of the questions rather than like, I don't know. I'm not going to interfere. Like I said, I didn't want to stop it. I'm just going to play it.
Jupiter. How do you tell the difference between those two?
Okay, so remember, it's really the oxygen that we're after, right? Water is H2O.
He always kind of does this sort of like, meh. Shit. When he like says something that's like really simple, and I don't know if that's a tell or if it's like part of the sorcery. Watch.
Difference between those two.
Okay, so remember, it's really the oxygen that we're after, right? Water is H2O.
Meh.
Jupiter is mostly hydrogen. The next most abundant element is helium, but the third most abundant element in the solar system is oxygen. And yet, so far, we haven't found very much oxygen.
So they know that
So we're looking
there's
for
all
it
those
because
elements
that's the form
within
in which
Jupiter, but they
oxygen
don't
will be found.
think they
But
can
it's
find the
the
core.
oxygen we're after. And it's got to be primordial because you can't really affect Jupiter with small things. If, a few years back when a comet hit Jupiter, the mass of that compared to the size of Jupiter is very small. So the amount of water we find in Jupiter should be representative of the water that got there when the planet formed in its early history.
Yeah.
Does that answer what you were asking about?
Does it? Yes. Does it? Oh, my
That
God.
compared to the size of Jupiter.
Let's watch that again. I mean, we didn't see her,
in Jupiter.
but he was almost like nodding his head. Did that answer the question?
Difference between those two.
He was in the hot seat. I don't know about you guys, but that's how I feel. Check this shit out.
Okay, so remember, it's really the oxygen that we're after.
All right, I don't want to hear what he said again.
Form in which oxygen
What?
will
She's
be
like, that
found,
answered
but
your
it's
question,
the
right? A little bit of
oxygen we're after.
brain.
And it's got to be
manipulation.
primordial because you can't really affect Jupiter with small things. If, a few years back when a comet hit Jupiter, the mass of that compared to the size of Jupiter is very small. So the amount of water we find in Jupiter should be representative of the water that got there when the planet formed in its early history. Does that answer what you were asking about? Thanks. It's got to be primordial.
All right, one more time with that,
Really
folks.
affect Jupiter with small things. If, a few years back when a comet hit Jupiter, the mass of that compared to the size of Jupiter is very small. So the amount of water we find in Jupiter should be representative of the water that got there when the planet formed in its early history. Does that answer what you were asking about? Thanks.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't like the way that was. He was like, did that answer? Yes, it did. Okay.
I was curious, Steve, you mentioned the magnetic field being about 20,000 times stronger than the Earth's. I'm curious about the scales of other
This guy,
deviations, like the
see, he's reading. All right.
that would be needed to create radiation and stuff like
All right, we're going to back up.
the
This guy, in my opinion, they cast a bunch of guys, boys.
What you were asking about? Thanks.
All right, I keep pausing the wrong thing, but basically, she was cast because of her hair. They liked her for the Mars project, for obvious reasons I don't need to explain. But she didn't do many questions. We're gonna revisit Mars. She did pretty good with that question, but sometimes the way they ask the questions, it reveals that they were a plant. Well, we're gonna keep going. I'm not gonna dwell on each little individual thing.
Thank you. The gentleman in the back row there, please.
Now, this guy, he was cast for the voice. You'll notice, and then I think there's a little product placement with his glasses. I'm trying to think of the brand glasses. They're kind of in right now. It's like almost like you're in a library.
State your name and media affiliation.
But they're doing like a plug. So this, you'll see him reading, but this is a prepared thing. All right, I'm just gonna shut up.
Hi, I'm Devin Coldaway with TechCrunch.
TechCrunch.
Steve, you mentioned the magnetic field being about 20,000 times stronger than the Earth's. I'm curious about the scales of other major deviations, like the scale of the pressure that would be needed to create metallic hydrogen, radiation, and stuff like that. I'm just curious about the other sort of huge magnitude factors in Jupiter and whether we're going to find out much more about those.
Weird question. Like, it just sounded dumb, honestly. But like I said, he is just there because of his voice. He kind of is a parallel to Steve. I don't know if you noticed that. They both have glasses. So it's supposed to be like a mirror image. This lady, she's got her thing. She recorded. She's probably like me. Like, they're just going to go over it and analyze whether it be real or whether it be fake. Because some of these people don't buy it, too. I'm I'm not crazy. I swear. Other journalists are there, you know, testing them to see how the truth to this. And that's been going on for a while. The Mars one is clear evidence of that. I mean, they're asking them questions and the guy can't answer it. And I don't know. It seems to me like those people are smart and they've kind of figured out a little bit that they were taking pictures in Greenland. But like I said, this is like a Ralph Lauren or something like plug like that. I can't really put my finger on what line he's doing here. But that's definitely product placement. We got Apple product placement right here. And I honestly think this isn't a plant or a journalist. She's not even doing product placement either. She's like me, like I said. But we're gonna keep going because I keep stopping. But there's a lot of details in this whole thing. They're like little Easter eggs you can find, and I hope that these never go down. Well, I have copies of this on my hard drive, but it's just a great thing to just break down. You know, color coding here, blue everywhere, blue all over the chairs. Blue is authority, trust, elite.
So it's actually Jack who mentioned the magnetic
Excuse
field,
me.
and he's our magnetic field expert as well. So I'm
So
going
we
to
taught you to flex to jack.
Okay, thanks, Steve. So the dynamo generates this magnetic field, and it needs a lot of energy.
All right, we're not gonna go over Mumblefest because he can tend to make me sleepy. But let's see if we can get. This guy's got a pretty good question. I can't really gauge whether he's a plant or whether he's.
Jay Pasikoff, representing the Huffington Post.
Huffington Post. I don't know. He's probably a plant. But his question is interesting, honestly. I think it throws him off guard for a sec.
You have staged the close flybys to cover all the longitudes of Jupiter, but Jupiter's surface, of course, is in differential rotation. How are you planning to uncouple the atmosphere, or are you just looking through the atmosphere and it's more stable below? And as a second question,
He's just like, what the
can you
fuck?
give us some timeline for the insertion when the key times?
I think I should go back there because I didn't see that.
Through a magnetic field that is.
Didn't I say there's a lot of Easter eggs
But
all
Jupiter's
throughout?
surface, of
But
course,
he's like, what should I
differential
say? What should I
rotation.
say? He's smirking.
How are you planning to uncouple the atmosphere, or are you just looking
watch.
through the atmosphere and it's more stable below? And as a second question,
He's like, make sure you
can
say
give us
this
some
because
timeline
if
for the
they
insertion when the key